Oilers Live Podcast. Oilers Live Podcast. Oilers Live Podcast. Oilers Live Podcast.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here with another edition of Oilers Live, except it's on a Thursday night. Had a few scheduling changes, and we're coming back to you Thursday night. And you know what? As it turns out, it's been a busy couple days in the NHL as far as the Western teams go. We've had a couple signings and a couple of big things in the news, and Ken Holland's been out to speak. My guest tonight, none other than Mike Dashney, Dash in the Park, and Mr. Kirk Morris himself, KM Writes One on Twitter. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me. It sounded sincere, right? The thanks part. Did that sound sincere? How you guys doing?
You know where the talent lies.
I know where the talent lies. I know you guys are lucky you're even allowed back on the show.
I'm shocked week after week when I get the invite, to be honest. I'm assuming I won't get the last word this week.
No last word. We're giving it to the man.
Never again.
There.
I appreciate the statement you wrote, though. That was
Yeah,
as far as using the cheat code goes, we should probably talk tonight about how you completely declared 100% that the Oilers are not going to win the Stanley Cup. I thought that was brave of you.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. So we have had some big news last couple days. Let's talk some hockey tonight. Lots of things going on, and lots of little things going on with the Oilers, and maybe not so little things, but of course, Kailer Yamamoto signed for 2 years at 6.2, 3.1. 0.1 better than Mr. Puljujarvi, right? Is that how we're supposed to take that, plus a year? I don't know. I mean, we got to look at that contract. It means something, obviously. Solves the arbitration problem, which is nice. I don't think anybody's surprised at the deal size. I think everybody was thinking somewhere a little bit higher than Puljujarvi, around there. 20-goal guy, Yamamoto, guy that everybody wants on their line, apparently, according to Woodcroft. A guy that is liked by the team. Still a bit of a show-me contract, right? 2-year bridge deal.
Still got one more year left of RFA after this is done.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's Dash start with you. I mean, what are your thoughts on the contract?
I guess to be 1 year at 3.5 or 2 at 6. So pretty much where it came out. I think it was a Puljujarvi +1 for sure. No different than when Columbus dealt out Seth Jones and then had to pay Werenski after Chicago dished out that deal. And you're gonna have to pay him $9 million +1.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't come to much of a surprise. Obviously, just glad they avoided arbitration and glad that we've got Kailer locked up for a couple more years.
Yeah. No, I think. I can't disagree with that. Your thoughts, Kirk?
Thought it was a good signing, man. Like, it's right where he deserves. And then you got the extra year on top of it, which I thought was good. now it's just McLeod that's left to sign, and well, Benson of course there too, but that's minimal worry there. It's just mainly McLeod that's the big fish left. So
Yeah, when's his arbitration date?
I don't think he's got arbitration.
No, he's not. That's right.
No, he has no
arbitration. No arbitration rights this time. So that's it. Actually, that's it for the Oilers on arbitration. Sorry, my bad. They just got to sign him. I'd be curious what happens there. The Oilers are right now just a little bit over the cap. If you count in LTIR, I think it works out to be around like $650K, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Somewhere around there.
Yep.
Still McLeod left to sign, and obviously some work yet to be done. Today, I mean, I heard Ken Holland on past guest Reed Wilkins' show talking about Puljujarvi, talking about the Yamamoto signing, talking about the team going into next season. And then I saw some snippets of other, quotes that Ken Holland said when asked about Kessel, of course, right? Not saying yes or no to negotiations there. I mean, we've seen that before from Ken Holland, and it only meant one thing, right? And of course, as you know, the insiders rarely ask a question that they don't already have half an answer to. So they know there's a little bit of smoke there. What do you guys think? I mean, this is obviously some dominoes need to fall, right? Puljujarvi, Foegele, these are guys that are, maybe on the way out, potentially on the way out. What do you guys think? Where does Puljujarvi end up starting the season? Kirk?
I have no idea, man. Like I said there at the round table, anything can still happen. I'd say Foegele goes first. Like, if any, I think he's the most expendable one out of the whole group.
Well, and that's not necessarily Ken Holland's. Like, maybe it's not his choice, though, right? Like, you know what I mean? I mean, who,
Why is he the most expendable?
Well, that's the one that everybody, I think everybody
analytically wise. Yeah,
and versus his salary, but I mean, I would argue that Puljujarvi has that title because he doesn't want to be there, right? Like Foegele's, I heard Yamamoto mention Foegele 5 times in his pressers today after signing the contract, and him and Bouchard and Foegele, and they're tight. Like, they're super, super close. And you look at any time Hyman or McDavid or anybody's doing anything, Fogel's always there.
No,
I think Foegele was traded for Ethan Bear because he was a workout partner of Connor McDavid, right? Like, I don't think that makes that team happy. Now, they might, with that same breath say, all right, I understand we have to win a cup and, maybe this is the best bang for our buck. But I don't know. I really think that I think that I still think it might be Barry, you guys. I really do. I just, and Holland's got decades of doing this and what's important to him. And, maybe not from a trade standpoint, but he's always been a pretty decent asset manager.
Well, who's going to be the trade partner with Barry? Because he's not going to Dallas because they signed Colin White. Or Colin Miller, sorry. And then Seattle, I don't know.
JP and Foegele have negative value, right? If you have to give a sweetener to trade one of those guys, like, is that your best decision? And if Tyson Barrie is the only one that can bring back positive value on an asset management piece, and you can get a Miller type defenseman for $1.5 million from somebody,
the problem with that thought process, though, Dash, is like you're not trading either of these players. You're trading them so you can get below the cap, right? Like, I mean, people know that, right? The other GMs know that. You're not at a point of negotiation. It's You know,
I mean, you can start Fogle in the minors.
You could start Fogle in the minors.
You don't think anybody's going to pick him up off of waivers?
Well, I mean, that solves your problem.
Well, that solves your problem, doesn't it? He's got negative value and he goes away for free. That's I think probably what Holland would look for, man. Ultimately, then he doesn't have to give up the asset. I heard Holland say in his interview with Reed Wilkins today on Ched, he said, I fully expect this to be the lineup that we go into the next season with.
Yeah, that's 100% what he said. It surprised me. And he,
Right?
you know,
guys,
he said
if he wanted to trade Jesse Puljujarvi, he could have paid him 1 year, $3 million, and gave him a $1.5 million signing bonus. Would have made zero difference to Cates because he still pays him $3 million. Would have made zero difference to the cap because it's still $3 million, and that would have been extremely attractive for a team like Buffalo or Arizona trying to get to the cap floor to take somebody that only takes $1.5 million in real money versus a $3 million cap hit. If he wanted to make him attractive, he could have.
It could still happen, you know, and he said towards the end of that interview, he says, I'm going to be making some more phone calls, which means he is probably going to actively shop them.
But boys, in terms of asset management, if he really wanted to make that a wash or just have it go away instead of it being a sweetener or negative value, why wouldn't he do that?
It could still happen. Well, no, it can't happen. I'm talking out of my ass here.
It's already structured.
There was no performance bonuses added onto that new contract at all. Wow.
Nope. $3 million, 1 year. That's
you figure Lowe would be pushing hard for well, maybe that was part of the stickling point there. The performance bonuses on his end rather than the team.
I think Ken Holland expects to get a second or third line winger that he can move up and down the lineup that's defensively responsible, that'll score 20 some goals for $3 million a year. Why do you move a player like that?
And Lado's negotiation,
he doesn't have to.
Is as much about getting Puljujarvi out of the Oilers system as it is about, you know, the year itself, right? Well, I mean, he had to factor that in, right? Like he's got to, you know, if he's negotiating on behalf of Puljujarvi, he's negotiating a contract that would serve his client well in a trade, right? That would make him a tradable asset. And, you know, that I think at $3 million 1 year, that's a tradable asset. It's just the question is, you know, who and what, and is the trade available, right? And what do you get
agreed
back?
With what Holland said today. There's an intangible to having a player on a 1 year contract that's hungry.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said, which was the first indication that Puljujarvi might be starting the year.
I've completely flipped this week. Once I saw those things and I'd heard those different details, I've completely flipped. I do really think we'll see JP in the lineup.
Do you guys think that his end or his I don't know how you call it, like drop dead date, I guess, would be the trade deadline? Like, do you trade him at the trade deadline if,
you wait and see what you got?
Bump it up, or showing what you got deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, look,
wait till your asset has positive value.
There's no lose too if you keep him, right? Like, yeah, Tough Calls listening in on Facebook. He's saying thank you, because this is what he was saying last week on the show. So we agree with him.
I can admit when I'm wrong, Josh, and I say he gone. But I just thought that, the more I analyzed it and looked at it, I changed my mind. I really do. I think we'll see him back.
Yeah, I get it. I still think he's gone. Like he doesn't finish the year in an Oiler. And I said that before, right? Like I said, it's possible he could start the season in Oilers colors. I just don't see him finishing the season in Oilers colors. And the only thing that is the big question mark for me will be, you know, what return do they get at the deadline? Right? I think there's a really good player there in Puljujarvi. I believe that 100%. I don't know that we'll ever see that in Edmonton. And Holland even talked about that today, right? And with Reed Wilkins, he talked about, you know, how when you get a coaching change, you get utilized differently and it'll affect your performance, right? And it's clear, he kind of, not clear, but I felt like he was hinting that, hey, Yamamoto's on the good side of Woodcroft, and Puljujarvi's right now, he's playing the third line role, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, Puljujarvi isn't going to get the chance to prove that he's a top 6 forward in Edmonton, at least anytime soon. Maybe he comes out of the gate, just blazing, and he starts to get top 6 minutes, and that'll change my mind. And that's the only thing that changes whether he, finishes in an Oilers uniform. I just don't think, talking about Foegele is a good example. Talking about Yamamoto is a good example. That's a tight-knit crew, right? When you see pictures with Foegele, you see pictures with Yamo, these guys are, those guys are the team, right?
Holland refers to a tight dressing room all the time.
Yeah. And so I want to be clear. I like Puljujarvi as a player, and I think he's going to be an NHL player and could very well be a top 6 player in the league. I just don't think it's going to be in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Kelly,
I think he becomes the chip at the trade deadline to bring us that. I've said numerous times that I think we've got a young enough defense core that we need help at the trade deadline, but a good enough defense core that we'll get to the playoffs and with relative ease. So I don't mind playing these young guys to get them developed and then bringing the beef in later. And then yes, it becomes that trade bait. Then so be it, right? Like hypothetical world, he goes to Detroit and we get Ben Sherratt, or that's exactly what we need for the playoff run.
Ben Sherratt. There we go. Let's go. Let's get it. So you think
we'll find ourselves a Jeff Petrie?
You think
Justin Schultz?
You think Barry?
Wait, Norris Trophy winner someday.
The Barry conversation has kind of slowed down a little bit, right?
He's another one that's well loved in that dressing room. That's the reason why I don't think they're going to trade him. But on the other hand, are you trying to win a championship, or you just want to play hockey with your buddies?
Well, what side of your mouth are you talking out of, Kirk? You can't keep Foegele because trade Foegele because he's not their buddy, but then keep Barry because he's their buddy. Make your mind up.
I'm playing devil's advocate, man.
It's called Humpty Dumpty sitting on the fence. Holy.
Yeah.
It's going to be that's got to be a big part of it, right? You want guys that all want to play. This is maybe the first time in a little while we've seen a really tight-knit team too, right? When you look at that top 6, these are guys that, they all want to play together, right? McDavid loves Evander Kane.
Yep.
Right? That.
The best players he ever played with.
That is about as obvious a thing as you ever get. Right? He loves Evander Kane.
Other than Lucic, don't forget Connor McDavid had posters of Lucic on his wall as a child and picked him as his 13-year-old Connor McDavid as the
might
like to play with in the NHL.
But they love Hyman. Everybody.
You know what? He's
Hyman.
Lucic 2.0. He's what
Yamo.
Kane is everything he wanted Lucic to be.
Yamo, Draisaitl, Nuge, right? That top 6 there. That's a tight knit group, right? Yeah. McLeod's in that group as well.
Oh, for sure.
And Foegele. And then look,
with
Puljujarvi's
Bouchard
the
and
guy
Nurse
on the way out, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that.
You know what, though? But, go somewhere else, son. You're going to play third line for Carolina. You're going to play
or Chicago,
second or third line in Chicago or Buffalo, too. And do you want to play third line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and McLeod and Janmark and
Holloway.
Guys like those are, and Holloway, it's the other one I was exactly thinking of. That's high end skill, that's high end speed, that's high end talent on a third line. So I don't know, you need a 1 year show me you're in the right place. I think.
I don't know why they keep Lado keeps thinking he's a top 6 player, middle 6 at best, or
but he can be versatility, he can be a top 6 player, right? If he's utilized right. I just don't think my thing is confidence. I think he is a top 6 player. I just don't think he's a top 6 player on the Oilers, and it has nothing to do with his skill level to me. It has everything to do with perception.
Between his ears.
It's perception, though, right? Like, it's not just his ears. It's between what's in between Connor's ears and Leon's ears, and I just
I think
remember
it's a
looking at
hockey
the
IQ
body
thing, man. I
language,
really
though.
do.
Looking at the body language of Connor when, anytime Puljujarvi makes a mistake, it's different. And
I still say,
that shit doesn't change, right? Like, that's just the way things are. And you play any sport, guys know that, right? Like, you could be the best player out there, but if another player doesn't like you, then they'll quit passing to you, and that, I think, is where it's ended up. I think that's why I think if Puljujarvi goes someplace else, he'll blossom. He'll be back to that point of game player, and he'll find some line mates that they'll have a neat name and call him whatever, and maybe it'll be the Finn line somewhere, and they'll do really great, and Puljujarvi have a great career. I just don't see it being in Edmonton.
I don't know.
Michael, you've told me enough stories about your men's leagues games over the last year that I know damn well that guys bark at each other on the bench. Absolutely. For every time you see Connor McDavid pissed off at JP, I'll find you 10 videos of them laughing, cheering, celebrating, hugging.
This is different. I disagree. 100%.
I don't know, man.
I think you're right. I think there are times but there's enough there that I think I've seen enough. I've seen the expressions. I've seen the body language. I think it's more than, once or twice barking at a guy and then laughing the next time, right? Like, I just think there's more.
Kessel and Malkin barked at each other for an entire season. They won a frickin' Stanley Cup, man.
And where'd Kessel end up?
With the Edmonton Oilers in 21-22.
Yeah.
The Iron Man.
Where did Kessel end?
He might look like he drinks mayonnaise for his pregame, but he's the Iron Man of the NHL.
That, and Kelly says it too. You ever see a lot of pictures of Kessel and Malkin hanging out? They were good line mates. He's brought up the same thing. It doesn't, there's a lot of times when Puljujarvi and McDavid were great together, right? Puljujarvi had a great start to the season.
It was a tale of two seasons, yeah.
Yeah, he had a great start to the season. I think overall, there's more to it than just, how good is Puljujarvi. I don't think he's going to succeed on this Oilers team, and
it's just his finishing. Like,
where else is he going to play?
Yeah,
I Evander Kane and put him on the top, and put Puljujarvi there, right?
I was watching the games there, like especially the games there versus Los Angeles, and I'm trying to, just kind of dissect what went wrong. It's not all the defensive plays where he did excel. It was just that one key play, just a finish, pardon the pun, but it just that the play, scoring chance, the play to be a difference maker on that line. And when he started playing on that third line, he had a little bit more, flexibility, a little more creative freedom, I guess you could say. And it started building his confidence back up. And when he started scoring again there in the playoffs, you could see that the entire team was stoked. So start him out on the third line.
That success changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Like it does. It changes everything. But sometimes, you go through a little bit of a tough patch, and that changes a lot too, right? It changes the way other players look at you. Anyway, my view of it is still, and I contend that end of the season we're not going to see Puljujarvi in an Oilers uniform unless, and this is the caveat, unless he has this amazing season and he's the piece that we need to finish the season, and he becomes a rental, because we can't afford him next year. No matter, if he's that good, we can't afford him, and he's just a rental that we already signed for the year, right? Like, he's a 1-year guy, and you lose him in the off season, and you figure out how you're going to do it. But
we can't afford another Finn to hang out with him.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the where I see that. I mean, and maybe that's the Kessel Malkin thing, right? Very similar sort of scenario, right? And eventually you can't afford all of your players. That's
just out of curiosity. If you're willing to sign Kessel, how much would you sign him for?
Depends who you trade.
Man, that's a good.
Just hypothetical. Don't even worry about trades. Just signing him like money wise. He's 34.
But I don't think you can do that without taking that into consideration, because if you trade JP, you're going to get $3 million, which means you got what 2.7 left to sign McLeod, so that's 1.5, 1.4 left.
So
will you play for 1.4 million? Will you play for 1.25? I think that's really what it comes down to, dude. I'm sure he wants to play for 2. I'm sure he wants to play for 2.5. But if he wants to play for Edmonton, that's what you got to play for.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just a little bit over $1 million, like $1.5 million max. Like he's 34, 35 years old, can't skate worth a shit, but
never could, man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, never could.
What is it about?
499
am I the only
goals later?
one that's not excited about this Kessel thing?
He should have won the Conn Smythe Trophy that year, man. That was a gift to Sid from the NHL. That was a PR trophy, just like Matthews getting the frickin' Hart this year. Kessel was the best. You don't look what Duncan Keith did for our team. He was a Conn Smythe winner. I couldn't keep my straight face. Sorry. Why not bring in another guy that's a Conn Smythe winner like Bill Kessel? Who cares if he's slow? He never could skate. He's the Iron Man.
Are you excited about Kessel potentially being on the Oilers stash?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what is it? What is it that excites you about having him on the Oilers? Where do you slot him in?
Proven player, 500 career NHL goals. He plays third line.
Who gives a shit about 500 NHL goals? I mean, we had a Hall of Fame defenseman on our roster last year, and you hated having him on there. So don't. Now you're
but that's one player, man.
Flip flopping.
You know,
we lost 8 of our 9 oldest players. It's not just Duncan Keith, you guys.
No, I know.
5,878 career games walked out the dressing room.
When you think Kessel's the leader,
5,800 career games, you got to bring somebody in with experience.
The leader.
Need more veteran help.
Kessel's the leader of what, Michael?
Kessel is the leader this team needs, the veteran presence this team needs.
No, but he's stability in the playoffs, and he's somebody that's willing to play the third line happily. He's somebody that can contribute all the time on the third line. He's somebody that can play up. He's a right winger. We need more right wingers. We need the depth. He's just like Evander Kane last year, going to play a talent way above what he's going to get paid. He should be getting $3 million or $3.5 million anywhere with the amount of goals he can score.
Kessel,
what are you not excited about? You want Colton Seaver? You want him back? Are we going with Devin Shore? Devin Shore's winning us a cup.
Where do you slot him in? Like, where are you slotting him in?
Third or fourth line right wing. Where do you? Line. Yes. And Kessel will play at this point in time in his career.
You put Kessel in.
Kessel wants to play 28 minutes a night at this point in time in his career.
He's not playing third line because you got Puljujarvi there.
Then maybe JP plays fourth line every once in a while, or maybe JP's the one that gets traded.
You can't put. There's no way in hell. I mean, I get maybe you don't love. I get you don't love maybe Puljujarvi. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But you can't put him on the fourth line. Kelly thinks he's on the third.
I mean,
line.
It's a deep team. What do you want to do? You want that's a good problem to have, as our good friend Josh Bolton is screaming through his device right now. You're my number one fan tonight, Josh. I know that. You're feeling me.
Kessel.
I don't know. Yeah.
I
think so. I
really
think so.
Other than it's a name. It's a name everybody knows. The name of a guy.
Okay, keep JP on the third line then. Do you want Kessel scoring 20 goals versus fourth line competition?
Kessel's not scoring 20 goals. You think he will?
Well, you just told me JP can't leave the third line. I can't take him off the third line.
Yeah. So
I can't put him on the fourth line.
That's what I'm saying.
Put him on the fourth line then. He'll score 20 on the fourth line. He's going to play with Nuge, Ryan, or
5 minutes a night. Yeah,
because he's going to be because he'll get 12 minutes a night, and he'll be playing against other teams' third and fourth lines and third pairing defensemen.
19, 20 JP
on a terrible team.
How many goals
barely
did
had
Kessel
the puck in the other team?
Year?
Oh, that Kessel had 8
goals.
Yeah, but that was on Arizona. You got to take that into consideration there too. They weren't exactly a powerhouse.
I mean,
tell me I'm wrong. What do you? Who cares? So
you surround
rotate him around.
You put Kessel in the lineup. You surround him with good players. Hell, even playing with Draisaitl once in a while, he's going to do something. Guaranteed.
In order to have the top 6 as you guys have it, there's got to be somebody that's left-handed playing right wing in the top 6. You got Hyman there, or you got Kane there. If not, Yamamoto. It's Yamamoto, Kane, or Hyman. That's who's going to play in the top 6 right wing. You got JP in the third slot, and right now we got Devon Shore.
Yeah, Kane and Yamo are
as our fourth line. You think we're better off with Devon Shore at the same price as Phil Kessel?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Kessel's not going to complain about playing fourth line, and he'll score 15 goals.
I'll take Phil Kessel over Devon Shore on the fourth line.
Well, that's the difference. Like what? That's the excitement. I just told you the gap between Devon Shore and Phil Kessel.
More depth, better depth.
Yeah.
Guy that can score too, and he could slot him in on the second power play.
He can play first line. He can play power play.
He can score. He hasn't scored. Like he scored 20 the year before, but he scored 8 last year and 14 the year before that.
Yeah, 20 in how many games the year before?
And it was a full season, I think. No, 56.
Yeah.
So 56.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, COVID year.
That extrapolates out to 30-some goals in less than 24 months ago.
In the bubble. Right?
Who gave a shit in Arizona last year, Michael? Answer that question.
No, he played without fans, just like he does every year.
Well, exactly. Is that a bird on Toronto? I don't even know how to take that.
I mean, okay. I'm excited. You take him over Shore. Yeah, okay, I'll get excited. I just, Kelly says he's going to hang out at the other team's blue line. That's what he'll be doing. Yeah,
on the fourth line. That's fine. It's exactly what Archibald did.
Yeah.
Well, tell me I'm wrong. That's exactly what Cassia did. Those guys were awful. Awful defensively.
Kessel doesn't, scream to me veteran leadership in the dressing room.
I completely disagree. I think he's one of the most popular players on his team everywhere he goes. I think his I don't give a F attitude is exactly what makes him popular.
I don't know.
Him and King, they hang out there pretty good then if they don't give a fuck.
That's why they. I
think you just named their new line.
Evander Kane.
I don't give a fuck.
No F's to give.
Oh man.
Hey, there's Woody on the bench patting him.
I don't know.
No F's line. Let's go.
All right. Well, Kelly's got another thing here. Thanks for all the comments. Kelly says, "What about
Kelly? Thanks for bringing us back on the rails.
Stepan or Stastny for veteran leadership."
Oh boy. Once again, money. How do you make it work?
Sure. Paul Stastny at 1.25.
35-year-old Paul Stastny. Yeah, I'll take him too. Yeah. You just got to make him fit.
Do you honestly believe, though, that Kessel's like signing for close to the league minimum?
If he wants to come to Edmonton.
You think he wants to come to Edmonton? I guess is the next question. I mean,
Where
that's
else
the rumor. I mean, that's the...
Colorado doesn't have room for him. He's not going to want to go to Calgary.
We don't have room for him, right? I mean, we got to drop somebody to put him in there.
Do you think Toronto doesn't have any money left either?
Hey, I was talking to Garfield. We're going to have some room.
Hey, maybe he comes in,
little
PTO,
told me.
Little PTO action.
Hell yeah.
Maybe Kadri on a PTO as well.
Bring on Chase on back too. The king of PTOs. Let's take Chase on. He shoots right.
What about Evan Rodrigues? Would he fit on this team? He's a right winger. But
no, we've got Devon Shore.
Hey, you want scoring, right?
Okay.
Devon Shore's Michael Hebert's promised land.
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly's got the statement of the night here. As much as you want, Kessel isn't Corey Perry, and the Oilers aren't Tampa. Admiral Hot Dog isn't going to Edmonton to play on the fourth line. And what horrible man might put JP on the fourth line?
Like, okay. The horrible man, that's fair. The horrible man, I'll take that on the chin. That's cool.
and maybe that's the most sense here is and that's kind of what I'm getting at is Kessel coming to Edmonton to play on the fourth line.
What do you mean he's not Corey Perry? He's an asshole.
He's not Corey.
He hates the media. He's slow. He's got amazing hands in front of the net. He's won a Stanley Cup or two.
Do players hate Phil Kessel as much as they hate Corey Perry? Like I hate Corey Perry just by looking at him.
I hate Corey Perry too.
Like you just look at Corey Perry and you hate the guy. That's why I want him on the team.
Out of retirement?
I want Corey Perry. Let's get Corey Perry. How do we
get bring back Kessler? Kessler on a PTO. That's the name of this episode.
Definitely won't win a cup if you have Perry on your team.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Get to the finals every year, but
get to the finals. Yeah, you definitely won't win. Is that third team now? He's Dallas, Montreal now.
Yeah. Bring back the big rig.
Yeah. Kelly and I are on the same. He says an asshole who everybody loves. Like, yeah, I mean,
is he talking about me or are we talking about Corey Perry?
You called Phil Kessel an asshole, but you also said that everybody loves him.
Yeah,
and
I'm an asshole. You guys love me.
Hop on the Dash straight here because if ever you saw live, and this is being recorded.
Hey, hop on the Beer League Heroes text line and let me know how much of an asshole I am tonight.
I mean, this is. I don't get it.
Where's Dash when you need
sure
or where's that Durst when you need him?
Oh man.
Here's your sign.
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get what the excitement's about with Phil Kessel. I get Dash that you got the Phil Kessel poster in your room.
Oh,
sorry,
I hung it right over top of my Devon Shore one. So
yeah. You know what surprises me? I mean, I'm looking at Phil Kessel's career stats. He's never scored 40 in a season. Doesn't that surprise you a little bit for a guy that a premier? He is, and I'm not going to take anything away from him. He's a premier scorer in the league. But for a guy that's a premier scorer to have never scored more than 40 in a season. Doesn't that surprise you? Doesn't that just tell you that's not the guy we want on our team? All right. Enough Phil Kessel talk. Let's talk this Mangiapane contract. Because, next year we're going to have, the Battle of Alberta arguments back and forth. And, of course, we're going to be biased on here because we're all Oilers fans. Are the Flames doing or on the right track? Like Mangiapane at 5.8 after one, this to me is screams of an Oilers player that did super well in the playoffs and we're giving him a big contract thing. Mangiapane has one good season prior to the World Championship. Nobody even really, they noticed this guy, but they didn't think he was going to be a 30-plus goal scorer, I don't think.
It's Fernando Pisani.
Yeah, that's, he's probably a career 20-plus goal scorer. But are we paying close to $6 million now for 20-plus guys? And is he going to perform the same way? I mean, he started out so hot that I think at that pace he was en route for 50. At one point, wasn't he leading the league in goals or tied at one point or pretty darn close? And then he finishes with 35.
Too.
To me, Fogle probably was leading at a goals per game average at some point in the season too, if you take 6 or 7 games as a sample. What do you guys think? Is this are these and let's patch in Huberdeau in here. Are the Flames are the Flames destined for failure for the next 10 years? How does this look for them?
Yep and yep. Yeah, I think as long as that with the contract there for Mangiapane, you get paid what you performed there.
Are you surprised though, Kirk, that like in Dash put me onto this? Somebody, an Oilers fan, did a poll like who's better, Mangiapane or Evander Kane? And Mangiapane, I think when I last looked, was up by 52%.
He's not better.
And when I voted, there was 800 votes, and it was 60-some%.
Yeah, when I voted, there was about 1,300 votes, and it was, is this Calgary Flames fans trolling this guy's account and voting for?
Oh, what? That's like, hey,
or what happened?
That's your text a friend vote. Text a friend. Hey, go. I don't know, man. It's ridiculous. He could be Fernando Pisani for all we know, let alone better than Evander Kane.
He's your typical third line winger, and they can.
Well, I'd slot him in top 6, but second line.
Yeah.
But 5.8 still seems a little bit high for me. He's a 20 goal a year guy to me, who happened to have a good season at 35, and might be in a position to really drop off if the pressure gets too high with a contract like that, right? And the fact that the Flames look to be maybe not the same team that they were last year. Obviously not. I mean, you just took out 200
Well, they can't be the
points.
same team.
No.
Yeah, you put a bunch back in. Let's not forget that Jonathan Huberdeau was the only player to pass Connor McDavid in scoring last season, you guys. There was a point in time where Huberdeau had more points than McDavid.
Oh, Huberdeau's good. There's no doubt there.
He's
and
better
Uyghur's
than
a good addition.
Uyghur's okay. So you went from Johnny Gaudreau to Huberdeau, and in my opinion, that's a step up.
I think so.
I think Huberdeau's a better player than Gaudreau. You got Mackenzie Weegar, who, whether you guys know this or not, finished 2 points behind Darnell Nurse in Norris voting the season before last when Nurse got 7th. 2 points behind him was Weegar in 8th for Norris voting. He is potentially, arguably, a top 10 to 15 defenseman in this league.
Yeah.
The Calgary defensemen got eaten alive in the playoffs. They were bad. And now you've added somebody that's potentially the same quality of player as Nurse on the back end to Calgary. I think they're potentially better. That said, are they the same team? No. What's their identity? That's the thing with me, right? Like Matthew Tkachuk was so much of the heartbeat of that team, in my opinion, that, I do think that as far as identity goes, I don't know about, offense goes. I think Tkachuk drove Gaudreau. I don't think it was the other way around when it came to identity. And like their identity wasn't good before. Like, what has Huberdeau done in Florida? All he's done is choked and lost. Here, let me tell you a story. So,
do we have a choice?
Michael, no, you can mute me. You're the producer.
Put that cord in the jukebox and let it play out.
So I go to Calgary a few weeks. Yeah, whatever. Sure. Drop a little beat down. So I go to Calgary a few weeks ago, Michael. You knew that for work because I had to bail on something. And it was a little last minute, but I get to my hotel and I purposely chose this hotel because they had electrical vehicle charging. And so I pull up, and the pub that the hotel was attached to had a band there that night. So of course there was, a lot of non-hotel traffic and parking there. And as I pull up to the 4 EV parking stalls, there's a Dodge Charger, an F-150, and a couple of other, I don't know, commercial vehicles, like I think an electrician's truck or something like that. So I have to giggle, like, here, we're in Calgary. I'm the guy that's up in the redneck up in the north. But as I kind of circle the parking lot, I finally find a spot and I get out, and this lady's walking out of the hotel with her kid, and he's about 12 years old. He's got a Johnny Gaudreau jersey on, and I've got one of those Edmonton Oilers license plates. And she said, yeah, well, you're pretty brave driving around this city with that license plate. I'd say that's pretty brave. Or your team isn't your team sucks, and that's we didn't need a team, we just needed that one guy. Which I don't think she got my joke, which was fine, because she just kind of looked at me stunned, and she goes, well, enjoy your time in Calgary with that plate, it's pretty brave. And I just said, well, I think it's pretty brave that you put your kid in a jersey like that when it's an obvious choking hazard. There's very profound laden response there that I'll probably stop my story. So what's Calgary's identity?
That's the story.
Yeah, that's my story.
By the way, I when I was living in Calgary, I had an Oilers plate. And I wasn't the only one. I would see an Oilers plate every day in Calgary.
Yeah, because you guys were in the same collision repair shop getting your keyed cars repaired.
Yeah, on my way to the detailer.
Why do we all have our mirrors kicked in? Like a support group. There's lots of us, he says. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man.
All right.
Stay classy, Calgary. Stay classy.
Well, Calgary's identity, they're window dressing for a rebuild in probably about 2 years, 3 years tops.
Well, not if what, who is it? Saravelli said that they're talking extension and $10.5 million in 8 years.
Well, it's done. That's a done deal.
It's done. Is it official? Did that happen?
Yeah, it's official. Okay. It's been called.
I don't know.
Well, you're talking like a guy who's going to be 37 when it's done.
But your identity of your team can't be your coach.
Yeah,
like that's the Flames' identity to me. It's Sutter.
Too,
yeah.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's what I got to say about Mangiapane.
I love seeing the Flames crash and burn, but I want to see them be just good enough, because that's heartbreaking for that hurts.
Oh, I'll take a 5-game series versus the Flames in the second round every year.
That's what I want, right? Like I want the Flames to just squeak into the playoffs every year and just let them be our first round fodder, right? Like I would just love just to see their hearts, shatter every year. Would make me feel
if
good.
This signing fails, if Huberdeau fails, Trey Living's gone. This is his last bullet in the fucking chamber.
I mean, here's the thing: is Trey Living is constantly
depends what he trades Huberdeau for at the trade deadline.
Even now, you go on Twitter and Flames fans are talking like Huberdeau is a god, right? And year over year, they've been saying the same thing, but.
They talked like Johnny Hockey was a god, and now they've got Jonathan Hockey, and he's better.
And all of a sudden, Gaudreau's nobody because he's gone, right? We're happy he's gone. Like, how many Flames fans have told you I'm happy he's gone?
You see it all over Twitter.
Sea of Red Central.
Yeah, let's see a Red Central. I like that guy, but He's me in a Flames jersey.
He is a Flames homer.
Oh yeah,
there's no doubt.
Yeah, no, I'm
his
cool
Flames homer per 60 is high in his analytics for sure.
I love it. I respect that.
He's a good dude.
But at the same time, I hope that
I asked him to join the network. He told me to F off.
I hope that he's always sad.
I wasn't even polite about it. No.
All right, what's left? Free agents that are left to be signed. Right, we've got Jason Robertson's not signed yet.
Jake Ottinger, they're both going to get signed by Dallas. It's just a matter of time.
That's huge, though, right? Robertson's going to be a player.
Yeah, they got $10 million left. You give Robertson and Ottinger $5 each, and she gone.
What do you guys think? Jesper Bratt.
I was surprised. 5.2. Yeah.
So
I was also surprised when I heard his stats reiterated too. He had a good season.
He had a great season, and he's
been trending towards it. Yeah.
Right. Like he's 23 years old.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jesper Bratt. Noah Dobson signed yet?
Nope.
So I mean, he's. I remember the draft year In fact, Kelly, who's listening in on YouTube, I think did a live draft show with me that year in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. He was a player we kind of liked. Thought maybe even the Oilers might take a look at him that year. Same year as Bouchard, right?
Yep.
No
was it
adoption.
Kelly's website where I read that Kadri's coming in for 1 year at 1.25?
Could be Kadri.
1 year, show me.
Mangiapane signed.
Just like Hossa when he got his ass kicked by one team, he went and joined the other one. Figured he'd be better off in Detroit. Then Pittsburgh beat him again.
What do you guys think? Like when I look at these, these guys like Kadri and like guys that really, should have signed like day one, right? Like you think Kadri was waiting on the Avalanche and the Avalanche screwed him over?
I wouldn't say screwed him over. I think they probably said, "We really want you to come back." And Kadri probably said, "I really want to come back." I think Joe said, "Gonna probably mean you got to make the same amount of money for another year or two. You want to make 4.5 again?" And then Kadri went, "Yeah. Why don't you try and make it like 5.5 or 6 if you can, and I'll just chill." And it just hasn't shaken down. I think once Josh Matheson came back, that was that, which was a fantastic re-sign, really. Jealous.
What do you think about Klingberg going to Anaheim for $7 million 1 year? And modified no trade, right? Like he's going to write his ticket at the deadline.
Well, I mean, I think here's what I think of it. I think the writing's on the wall. His agent did a shitty job. If his agent did a good job, he wouldn't have fired him. His agent had to recognize that this was a rare year where there was a lot of offensive right-handed defensemen on the market. Justin Schultz was available.
But if you don't sign first day, like we see this all the time, right? Like if I'm a player and my agent doesn't get me signed within the first half hour, I know I'm not like those first deals are all ridiculous.
Klingberg's got to expect that he would get Heiskanen, Seth Jones, Werenski, Nurse money. Would he not? Klingberg's right there with those guys.
He's probably fishing for 10.
Well,
he's probably fishing for 10.
And I think there had to have been teams that would have given him 10.
Who?
I don't know.
Arizona?
I think Buffalo.
Buffalo probably would have.
But here's honestly, perfect right-hand defenseman to bring in to mentor Power and Dahlin.
Yeah.
Be perfect.
But he was on a modified no trade before Buffalo too, wasn't he, Klingberg? Wasn't that the reason why we didn't think he'd come to Edmonton before? If I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember.
I think you're right. It was like a 7-team list he had to submit that he wouldn't go to or something like that. But I'll look it up.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's tough, right? Like I hate those contracts. I mean, I hate those contracts more for being the Oilers because it screwed us out of so many players, right?
And for the record, if it's Broberry, it's actually Klingberry as well.
His name's, we're not.
I'm serious. It's pronounced
Klingberry.
It is.
We're not even saying Broberry here, except for you.
Yeah. I do. Because I'm not a Neanderthal.
We like people to understand what we're saying. Do you got a story? Another story to tell, Dash? Should we settle in? Should we?
I've got tons of stories.
Yeah, Kelly's like Peter Forsberry.
That is the comment.
There's a poem.
Oh, can he listen every show? I love when he's on.
We'll just get Kelly to join us. It's hot in Taiwan right now, no doubt.
Beer League Heroes text line.
I've had Kelly on many times.
Yeah, I know. I've heard it.
times. Not for a while. But hey, Kelly,
I was a big fan of yours
Let's
before I
get
sabotaged your show, Michael. I
Yeah.
think you forget that.
Yeah, I might go back to the A-list again.
You might make some moves to make me a fan instead of a contributor
Right, yeah.
again.
We're making
Tier
some
2
moves.
fan. Yeah.
You know what? We're pretty close to the hour here. I think the big things I wanted to talk about, obviously Mangiapane, we talked about him, talked about Yamamoto, which is probably the biggest Oilers news. Puljujarvi, I mean, we'll see. I still, I contend the only thing that's stopping me from saying he's not getting traded right now is the fact that, like, Holland he made it sound like he's starting the season on the Oilers roster in his Reed Wilkins thing. We talked about Phil Kessel. I think there's enough smoke there that it's not going to surprise me if it's going to happen. There's a large fan base that seems excited about this Phil Kessel thing.
Hey,
and I, you know what,
Michael?
To me, it feels
Phil
a lot like
is a thrill.
To me, the whole Phil Kessel thing seems, a lot like, you're signing a guy that I just don't. Anyway, I'm.
Do you imagine the Jack Michaels calls when he scores? he go ballistic. Phil the thrill! Oh my God!
Yeah, that's why.
It's going wild.
That's why we need to sign him. What's he like on the shootout? Is he any good? Like, is he a shootout specialist? Do they even put him on the shootout?
You
He's got
do
500
shootout in a
NHL
wheelchair.
goals.
Where do you find shootout stats? Anybody know? I don't even know where you find shootout stats.
Find anything.
Yeah, somewhere.
Quantum
like
hockey.
DB
Quantum
or
hockey.
something.
Yeah, it'd probably be hockey.
Yeah,
DB.
Hockey.
Yeah, it's natural stat trick.
Yeah.
Let me read you the top 10 scorers in the NHL over the last 14 years. 14 years consistency. But he never got you 40.
Yeah, but
never got you 40. Never got you 40. All he did is keep up with Ovechkin, Stamkos, Crosby, Kane.
He was in the high 30s a lot, man.
And
yeah,
Kessel,
he was in the high 30s a lot.
the seventh
I was
highest
making fun
scorer
of
over
him.
the last
I was
14
making
years.
Hey,
Ahead of
Duncan
Malkin,
Keith
ahead
was
of
a
Perry.
Hall of Famer. Duncan Keith was a Hall of Famer, and that didn't
First
seem to-
ballot. Yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't seem to be phased at all by that. Didn't phase you. And we had,
Did you see the 5.5 million he was making versus the 1.5 that Phil the Thrill wants to play for?
I think we should have called this the Phil Kessel episode.
Hey,
I mean,
is
this
Kelly
is,
still listening? Is Kelly still listening? Hey, Phil Kessel has twice as many goals as Peter Forsberry.
There we go. What's he got? How many rings? Just the 1 year?
Yeah. I think.
Yep, just one.
Yeah,
Just
just one.
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Before you jump anywhere else here, I just wanted to go back to McLeod there for a second. I saw a tweet by oh Jesus, now I'm falling flat here. Jonathan Willis, and it was a quoted tweet. Somebody said something like an offer sheet for McLeod. Now, would that screw Holland's plan up big time?
Well, it could, but like what?
What do you
Gotta
offer
sign
him
it.
though?
Yeah.
Like, that's a douche move just to begin with. Like, and somebody mentioned Anaheim. I was like, yeah, I could see them doing that. Possibly. Just to fuck with Holland.
Mike Greer turned full heel turn. Fuck you, Oilers.
Who screwed me again? Turns around.
Battle of the Horn Part 2. It's gonna be
New school versus old school.
at the end of the day, McLeod has to sign it, right? And I think he wants to stay in Edmonton. That's the bottom line there.
Yeah, I say says no, but it was an interesting tidbit there I found
So
on Twitter. I was
okay,
just
so
like,
here's the thing,
okay.
right? Like, so you've got and if he signs an offer sheet, right, he's going to sign something that he's going to want to play under, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so is he going to sign, you know, for an extra $1 million this year when he's got a chance to play on a team where he can, when he comes out of this next contract, he could have a nice little payday, right? Whereas he could go to, you know, in this instance here, they're saying somebody
especially
like
if he's playing with
Anaheim.
Kessel.
Yeah, especially. I mean, could you even imagine the McLeod Kessel? People would be.
We might not
kid,
get
you got
Kessel
wheels.
just
Here's an
because
anchor for you.
McLeod will cost us too much.
They'll be singing about. It will be. They'll be singing about that.
Hey
line.
kid, here you got the wheels. You're the wheels line. Here's an anchor for you to slow you down.
Nielsen will have a hell of a Kessel song, I'm sure.
Oh,
if,
the goal song would be epic.
The goal song, it would be worth it maybe for the goal song. Props to Nielsen and the goal songs.
I'd be like an Oscar Mayer Wiener dub.
Yeah, it'd be something good.
Yeah,
it'd be something good.
I'll take an extra $1 million a year to go and play with Maxime Comtois and Sam Carrick.
I don't. I mean, I think McLeod's future, right? Like to, you know, for an extra $1 million this year, I think he misses out on the potential that he could get. If you know, it's whether he wants to bet on himself, right? Like, you know, if he does a nice little bridge with the Oilers, 2 years, maybe 2 years, more than likely, I think.
If he was offered the right money, do you think he'd go long term if it was by Holland, or do you figure no way?
Well, I don't think there's the money there for the Oilers to pay him long term right now.
Yeah,
unless, you know, they make one of these moves that, you know, we're talking about today, right? Like you got to get rid of Barry, or they got to get rid of, right?
It'd cost you 2.5 or 3 over probably $4 million, because you got to buy at least a year or 2 of his UFA, and he's still 2 years away. So it's got to be a 4-year deal. In which case, you're looking at 4 by 3.
I was thinking 3.
And I don't think McLeod wants that. He's a $5 million player. By the
waiting
time
in the
he's
wings. Yep.
Arbitration.
Yeah, like he just keeps getting better and better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's, you know, and he played up. Like, I love McLeod. He played up and down the lineup.
Versatile.
Right?
Yeah.
Like wherever you needed him, he could play on the first line if you need him to sub in.
Sky's the ceiling for sure. Kill penalties.
Right? Yeah. Like, and there's not a lot there's not a lot of players like him that have that ability. They don't, you know, I don't think you play him top 6 minutes, you know, anything sustained, but if you need him there, he's good.
He's
for
like another Nuge with wheels, pretty much. When you stop and think about it, it's got better skating. Than
and I mean, if he gets anything close to a scoring touch, I mean, you know who he looks like is he looks like the next kind of like Mangiapane with like a 30+ goal season that just surprises the hell out of you, right? Like if he gains a scoring touch, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, he's one of the more exciting prospects in our. I mean, he's not a prospect anymore.
He's not a prospect anymore.
You know, I mean, he's one of the more exciting sort of up and comers on our team. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's all I got. Guys, anything? Did we miss anything tonight? We want to talk about Phil Kessel some more?
I got some time.
All right. We're done. We're shutting it down. We just want to say thank you to everybody tuning in again. Thank you, Kelly, for all the comments. Thanks for agreeing with me because it was the only right thing to do. And appreciate Kelly's asking for another story from Dash. Dash will get his last word, and then we're going to finish it off with Kirk to set that up tonight. Hey, Heavy Hockey Network is doing some great things. We've got lots coming up for the upcoming year. Lots of stories. Go to heavyhockey.com. New podcasts, of course, as we know. Kirk's got his own. I'm going to screw this up. Paddle Down podcast. I went blank there.
EDP.
Yeah, I went blank. Kirk's got the Paddle Down podcast. We've got Eric Friesen's got 99 Forever. Dash just kind of floats in the wind. And And then actually Dash and Durst are doing Straight Off the Pipe. And then, of course,
Till I sabotaged your show.
You're here and you're on. You're watching Oilers live, and appreciate that, and appreciate everybody that tunes in, whether they listen to the recorded version or however you listen. Do appreciate that. But anyway, all this to say is, keep checking heavyhockey.com. Lots going on. If you want to do or contribute, please reach out to me. We could use some new voices. I'm certainly tired of the ones we got right now. Just kidding. Of course I'm kidding. But seriously, we could really we could use. We've got Jeff Ade's going to start doing some Buffalo Sabre stuff, and we'll branch out to more hockey stuff. I'm going to have some Mooseheads talk on there this year. Just working out some last minute arrangements on doing a little bit more QMJHL coverage as I'm out here in Mooseheads territory. And then, of course, I'll be watching the World Juniors live and in person here in Halifax this year. So anyway, please do reach out. I've had a couple of people reach out that want to be guests on the show. I'm always willing to listen to what you have to say. I mean, I do put up with Dash most weeks. So, yeah. But we're going to, it's going to be a slow time here. So, yeah, I might switch to every second week until maybe for the next month. Just slow things down and take a little break myself before we move into full-on mode and get going for another season of Oilers hockey. And this, in my mind, is probably the most exciting one that's upcoming. Somebody by the name of Grava D on YouTube says Jeff Ade is my hero, and I'm guessing that's Jeff's burner account maybe on YouTube, but we'll see.
He let Leo stay up late tonight.
That's right. All right, Dash. What do you got for us before we finished off with Kirk tonight?
I don't know. I was just gonna say goodnight, but I don't want to disappoint Kelly now.
No, please disappoint. Don't worry about
Kirk. Have I ever told you about the time that I made my junior hockey team?
No.
All right. Okay. So I graduate high school early. I'm 17 years old, and I moved to the big city of Regina from small town Wynyard. And I figure, I need to make some hockey teams and keep this, dream alive. So I go out and I try out for the Regina Capitals, and let's just say the camp didn't go as well as I thought my aspirations may have taken me to, and my 1 goal and 2 assists after 4 games wasn't really cutting it. I was the youngest guy there, but I really wanted to play. It was an expansion team, and I figured that was the team that I could make, if any. So it was the last game of the exhibition season, and we went out to Moose Jaw to play in the crush can there. And it was the 3rd period. I'd had another terrible game, and I leaned over to the guy that was the captain of the Capitals the year before and said, what do you think I got to do to make this team? And he said, you see that guy right over there, right on right wing there, number 8, go fight him. I said, all right, cool. Naive and dumb and young. So I take the next draw, and he happens to be, but I had to switch to left wing so that I could, be on the same side as him. And he kind of looked at me like, what the hell is this kid doing? And I said, hey, I'm not going to make this team, but I think I need to fight you in order to try and have a chance. You want to give me a go? And he said, absolutely not. There's not a chance. So the puck was dropped, and he did a 180, and I absolutely 2-handed him across the back of the legs as hard as I could. Just absolutely tomahawked him right across the ankles. And he looked at me and turned around with hatred in his eyes like I've never seen any human being before. And he came at me, and let me just say I was 5'9", probably 185, maybe 190, and he was 6'4", 240 pounds. I look it up. His name was Tyler Large, and his name was not just Mac. And Tyler gave me one in the mouth, and I thought I was going to die. And then at that point in time, when we were tussling, I felt his fighting strap break. I thought, oh boy, now we're good. And I happened to get his jersey over him. And I don't know, I had a guardian angel that day on my shoulder, Kirk, but I happened to feed him about 15 consecutive uppercuts to the point where he hucked his jersey and his elbow pads in the stands. And basically, like only a moose jaw warrior could, he danced all the way to the dressing room with vulgarity. And I took the bus ride back home to Regina. I got to sit in the back seat because they couldn't believe that this 17-year-old kid just went, and apparently I found out on the bus ride home that Tyler Large was the heavyweight champion of the league, and they were absolutely trolling me. They just thought that this guy was going to fucking annihilate me, and they were just feeding me to a Rottweiler for dinner for their own humor. So turns out that I had somebody looking over me that day, and thanks to that guardian angel, because I got to play 15 games of junior before I got cut. That's all I got to say. There's your story, Kelly.
There's the story. I'll edit the recording and put some soft music
just mute that out.
And
some
sweeten
elevator
it up
music
a little bit and
nice. Some sound effects, maybe.
Sound
Pow,
effects.
pow.
Yeah. Get some video. Do all the fun things.
Recreation.
Appreciate
hockey
having
player,
on.
wrinkly and bald.
Kirk, you know the drill. You get the last word. We throw ourselves on mute, and like when you say goodnight, that's it. That's where we call it, and we're done. So appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Fun show, and see. I think we'll go, unless there's some big news happens, we'll go in a couple weeks. All right, or unless I get some different guests. Just kidding. All right. All right, you're up.
Don't forget, I have your passwords. I can log in when you're away. Kirk and I'll have our own damn show. We know where the talent lies.
You're up, Kirk. I'm going to hit mute. There you go.
All right. Thanks for giving me the platform here, Mike. Happy to be here as always. Dash, always an awesome time when you're on. It's never a dull moment. That's for damn sure. I want to finish out this week by I'm actually surprised.
I appreciate the invite on the podcast that I named.
I'm getting to that, man. I'm getting to it. Just give me a second here to
Sorry, my mute button broke.
I actually was surprised that this wasn't brought up here tonight, but we got to give a shout out and I guess a tip to the cap to the long time. He was a very polarizing figure in Edmonton, especially with the Oilers, and that's Kevin Lowe, retired this week. He said that he wanted to spend more time with family, especially his grandkids, which is completely understandable. And he spent most of his life, let alone his career, in Edmonton. He was a heck of a player. He was a shutdown defenseman, and plain and simple, had a little bit of playmaking skills, a little bit of passing ability, but and then, when the opportunity was given to him, he became a coach for 1 year, and then excelled to a managerial position. Can't forget 06. That was some good maneuvering there by him there at the deadline. And then so on and so forth. Very polarizing figure there when, at times, and you'll never forget the challenge with Brian Burke. They're doing it out in the barn somewhere. Like I said to the boys there in the chat, I'd pay money still to this day to see that fight go down. That would be one for the ages. But yes, sir. And but just overall, like the work that he did afterwards, after he within the community as well. You anywhere you went, you could always hear a good story about Kevin Lowe. He loved being an Edmontonian, still loves being an Edmontonian. So my hat's off to you, Kevin. I know I wasn't the biggest fan of yours at times throughout your managerial career with some of the things that you said, but at least you were honest. You're straightforward. You're honest. You never skipped a beat. You shot straight from the hip, and I totally respect that. So with that, good night, everybody.
Oilers Live